Peter. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this year's Meet the Presenters series, which we're going to talk to all the presenters of the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. And this time, the very first one, we have Donald Hamilton. Welcome, Donald.
Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is at the moment.
Whatever
Great.
it is, yes, it's sun
Yep.
shining. We're all good. We're in daylight. It's good. So Donald is a friend of mine. I've known for quite a while, and Donald is an author, a coach, a hypnotist, a senior executive. He's also been a negotiator and a stand-up comedian. So there's a very wide, varied skill base in there. But anyway, Donald, if you don't mind, could you possibly tell our viewers a bit about yourself? Tell us all about you
Yeah.
and what drew you to hypnotherapy and how your understanding has approached over time.
Well, thanks for that, Andy. It's great to be here. It's great to
Oh.
be presenting at the conference. As you mentioned, my background is a bit varied. I spent a large chunk of it as a lawyer in private practice and then in a large corporation. I've dropped out a couple of times. One time to teach water skiing in the Greek islands,
Wow.
and the other time I took the kids out of school. My wife and I travelled around the world with the kids for a year. I
Wow.
then came back and changed track, became a commercial director and professional negotiator, negotiations coach. Then, just before the pandemic, I was working with a large client and the contract ended and decided to change direction completely. And when I say completely, to move into hypnotherapy and NLP. In my corporate work, particularly in the negotiation side, I've been really interested in what made people react the way they did, why people took positions in negotiations, why they became intransigent about things, and realized that they followed patterns. And I thought, I'd love to find out more about this. Luckily, I got into what was a bundled course at the time because it was early days of hypnotherapy and NLP, and absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, there's a sadder side that just as it was starting, a close friend, family member took their own life. And I suddenly thought, if I could help one family going through what we went through, then I've done more good in the world than that than I had in anything in my corporate life. So that drew me to it a bit, although to be fair, it's not something that I've actually stuck with longer term the way I thought I would.
Hmm.
But I retrained. I started to grow it as a private practice, almost like the general store. I didn't particularly have a niche. I could have said anxiety, but just about everything boiled down to anxiety.
Yeah.
I, but then I started talking to executives, and they said, "But you've got such a wealth of experience of the corporate world of what makes executives successful." Because I was fairly senior in the companies I worked for, and how to do something about it side with the hypnotherapy and the NLP. If you could combine the two of these, that would be really powerful. And I
Yeah.
thought, yeah, I've thought about that.
Hmm.
So I've developed an outline, put it together, and uh, somebody I knew through a mutual friend, I was telling him what I was doing. He's, well, I'm CEO of a company. We run a franchise business. We've just got a new executive team. They're quite good at the skills they have. They're in the point skills for the department they've come from, but they don't really know how to act at a management level. And they're all a bit nervous. They've all got imposter syndrome. They're all anxious about, are they good enough? Can you come in and do something with them? So I went in and yeah, almost as an experiment, as a proof of concept, ran the course, and feedback was fantastic. Invited me back for a second day, then invited me back for a second session. And I was talking to him last weekend actually, and he said the team still want to know when you're coming back. They're even at the stage they don't even mind what you're talking about; they just want you to come back. But that made me think, yes, there's definitely something in this. So since then, I've been developing it. It's, I'll be honest, it's not an easy sell. It's one of the things that I'll be talking about at the conference is, how do you go over the blockers? How do you find the buyers? How do you get over the corporate blockers? And particularly if you want to include hypnosis in it, because most corporates go hypnosis, get that woo-woo behind me.
Yep.
So we'll cover that a bit at the conference, how you build up with proofs of concept first until the suddenly thinking, yeah, I really want this, I really want it.
Well, one of the things that I'd like to talk to you about very briefly is obviously I mentioned at the start that you're an accomplished author, right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's the
This is
book.
Donald's book, right?
Amazon bestseller.
Amazon bestseller, a best-selling author. So
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about this book? Because that intrigues me. And obviously, then we'll lead on to what you're talking about in the conference. But this just feeds on to telling a story about you and your experience and why people should listen to you.
Yeah, well, putting the book together, I looked at the training I was doing and realized when I did but sessions with executives and the corporate stuff, I followed a process. And I thought, well, let's build that into a framework. So I've built it into what I call the ASDIC framework, ASDIC, which is accepting that you're running negative patterns. S is stabilization. How do you get yourself reset to zero? D is development. How do you start to focus on developing new skills and setting where you want to go? Improvement. How do you start to embed these new skills, these new approaches into your daily life and get better at it? And then consistency. How do you start to delivering and acting and thinking that way on a daily basis, even when your boss is shouting at you and clients are telling you you're an idiot? How do you keep focusing that, even despite the crosswinds, when it's very easy to fall back into your old patterns?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
do you start to get techniques to help you gain and maintain resilience to focus on the way you know you want to be?
Mhm. That's cool because I have started reading it. We had this discussion beforehand, and yeah, it's a really good book so far, and I wouldn't doubt anything else from you. But yeah, so with all your experience, you've put it into that book, and then one of the things that I think people would like to know is this is all about the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, right? And you were an attendee last year,
Yeah.
and with the likes of your presentation, if you could just outline a little bit about it, and also, you know, in so doing, why should people come and see your presentation? What are the benefits for people when they come?
I think one of the things a lot of people have said to me, I'd really love to get into corporates, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
So there'll be an element of how can you get into it? And one of the things that I found is drawing your past experiences. I know, in fact, most of the hypnotherapists I know actually have a life before hypnotherapy, often in corporates. And if you can draw in that experience and bring that into it, so it's a more holistic approach. You're not just going to say, I'm going to hypnotize your executives to be better.
Mhm.
You can start to build in the business context, then that's really helpful. So talk about that. We'll talk about how can you approach it, because I think there are three ways that people do approach it. One is to do short, sharp sessions, maybe an hour.
Mhm.
I, Other people will do train the trainer, where they'll get get people, usually in HR or the training department, and train them how to deliver a session in that. Others, what I do a series of courses, anything from a half day to 2 days. And the longer the course goes on, the more I bring in stuff from my previous life. So if I did the full 2 days, I finish off with the sessions on negotiations, because there's threads that run through it. Like most of your life is following a pattern, because your brain's a pattern recognition device, whether you like the pattern or not. But there's things you can do about it to change them and to harness them and develop better patterns. And that goes from everything to overcoming your limiting beliefs, how you set and manage your goals so they're meaningful, but also how you negotiate and interact with other people. So I have that common thing of subconscious patterns running through as the thread that runs through everything.
Yeah. And I suppose, you and I have talked about this in the past, and whenever people are attending, you mentioned it, and I have had experience of this myself, but whenever you use the hypnosis word, it is instant
Yes.
roadblock. Now, I've come from a sales background. I've come from, doing all that and training my background and things like that, but it is hard to get in, even not using that. Will your presentation go into detail about, well, you mentioned it briefly, but if you were to give people a little nugget about how you approach people, what would be the first thing you would say to people? Obviously, without giving away your whole presentation, but you know, little snippets that people can learn and learn more about when they come and see you. What would be a go-to way of approaching a business?
I think that, yes, you put hypnosis out there. I don't put it out front and said, I gradually build up to it. And it's always fully with consent. If the person who's organizing the conference says, I don't want you to hypnotize people, then I won't. But we use some NLP techniques, use some guided visualizations that
Ah,
may look very like hypnosis.
yes. Yes, it's all about the packaging, I suppose. But no, that's cool. So yes, you are going to be with us this year coming, and I look very much forward to being at your presentation, and I'm sure other people will as well. But what would you say to people who were thinking about attending the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference? What would be your go-to reasons for people to come and see to come and come to the conference, and obviously ultimately you, but why would people come to the conference? What's a good reason to?
I think I can give you three good reasons. I was
Uh,
there last year for the first time. The first was just the people you meet. You meet such a breadth of people from not just Ireland, the UK, from around Europe, from around the world,
yeah,
who've got different perspectives, different experiences. It's fantastic. The second is the content and the knowledge you get there. It genuinely opens your eyes to things that you hadn't thought of. Or you can hear two contrasting views. For example, last year I was in a session where someone said, you never ever need to do regression to cause. Then the next session was, you've got to do regression to cause or you won't ever succeed.
yeah,
And it's hearing those two discussions really makes you think more about it rather than just accepting a dogma.
yeah,
And the third thing is the social aspect.
yeah.
The crack is fantastic.
Mhm.
From meeting people in the bar to some of the world's greatest stage hypnotists just doing impromptu work in the lobby is just unbelievable to watch and to be part of.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I mean,
that's good. No, it was a pleasure to have you there. Obviously, we've known each other for a good while, and it was great to see you over there. And I look forward to seeing your presentation next year.
good. I'm looking
Right.
forward to it very much indeed.
Yes, so am I. And thank you so much for your time. And I would encourage everyone to go and see Donald's presentation.
Yeah, come along.
Yeah. Have a good day. Thanks, guys.
Okay.